I was barefoot on rain-slick asphalt in a dim backstreet, the chill clawing up my legs, when my mother-in-law aimed a manicured finger at a heap of rotting garbage and sneered, "That's your new bed, Elena. Maybe some stray will take pity on you." Her voice cut clean through the night air, rehearsed, venomous, delighted. Elena Harper. That was still my name 10 minutes after I'd scrawled it on divorce papers that stripped me bare. No house, no money, no mercy. The apartment door above me thudded shut. The deadbolt snapped like a verdict. They assumed I'd vanish quietly. I sank against the wall, hugging my knees, trying to comprehend how 5 years of devotion could end with someone laughing at trash and calling it my destiny. I'd loved her son. I'd scrubbed their floors, cooked their meals, shielded their reputation when whispers started. And now I was refused. Curtains twitched in the windows overhead. Eyes watched. No one descended. My shattered phone glowed weakly a few feet away. I stared at it, battling the vow I'd made the day I walked away from everything: never crawl back. Prove you can stand alone. But frostbite doesn't care about pride. With frozen fingers, I dialed the number I'd deleted and rememorized a dozen times. It rang twice. Elena. The voice was low, steady, unsurprised. "Tell me where you are." Half an hour later, black sedans nosed into the alley like silent predators. Beams of light pinned the darkness. Doors opened without hurry. Suited men formed a wall of quiet muscle. Then he emerged, Harrison, removing his overcoat and draping it over my shaking shoulders before I could rise. "You're safe," he murmured. As he guided me into warmth and tinted glass, I glanced back. The same alley, the same garbage. But the narrative had already flipped. An hour earlier, inside the apartment I'd mistaken for home, the overhead light felt surgical. My husband, Marcus, stood with papers in hand, face blank as a contract. "Sign, Elena. It's over." I laughed, shocked, disbelieving. "We need to talk about this." His mother, Gloria, stepped from the shadows, arms folded. "There's nothing to discuss. You've served your purpose." His sister, Chloe, smirked from the doorway, phone in hand, live-streaming the show to herself. This wasn't a marriage ending. It was an extraction. Hands trembling, I signed. Not surrender, survival. In that room, I finally understood, I'd never been family. I'd been a resource. 5 years. I'd traded legacy for what I thought was real love. Grew up in boardrooms and gated estates, then chose a simple life with Marcus. I cooked precisely, cleaned obsessively, shrank myself to fit their mold. When I couldn't give them a grandchild, the thin civility evaporated. I endured because leaving felt like defeat. But that night in the alley, survival trumped stubbornness. Back at the estate I hadn't seen in half a decade, my grandfather, Victor Hale, waited beneath the portico, cane in hand, eyes fierce with restrained fury. He didn't scold. He simply asked, "What did they do to my girl?" I crumbled. By morning, files covered his desk. My hidden trust fund, quietly drained month after month to prop up Marcus's failing ventures, his mother's spending, his sister's lifestyle. The apartment? Paid by me. Their success? Smoke. I hadn't failed as a wife. I'd been farmed. Victor didn't rage. He acted. Contracts quietly cancelled. Loans called in through proxies. Invitations withdrawn. Networks closed. Marcus's calls turned frantic. Then pleading. When his name lit my screen, I let it ring to silence. The house that discarded me began eating itself. Blame, panic, collapse. One measured interview from me was all it took. Not vengeance. Truth. The world learned Elena Harper had returned home, to lead, not to hide. Marcus's empire of lies folded under its own weight. And I stood taller than I ever had, no longer anyone's placeholder. Just Elena Hale. Finally, undeniably myself.